Founded in 1905, the Delaware Public Archives is the official vault for the state. It's the place where rare or important records and documents are stored for safekeeping. Vital statistics, census records, military records, court and probate records, legislative proceedings, and other historic documents are kept in large climate-controlled vaults. While the vaults are off limits to the public, people can access original documents or microfilm copies in the Research Center located to the right of this display. Writers, scholars, and others use the room for legal or historical research. In addition, many people use the wealth of materials in the archives to learn more about their family history. An exhibit in the Archives Museum galleries provides more information on some of the most fascinating and unusual items in the archive's vast collections. A highlight for visitors is a chance to view precious original founding documents of the state and the nation.
Thank you very much. You know, this is also a very historical moment for all of us here in Delaware, because just in a very few minutes, we are all going to have the opportunity to actually see Delaware's Bill of Rights. And you know, that's been 214 years ago or so, and that's just amazing, since it was ever here, and we sent it back. And boy, what a struggle it has been to get it back. I know everyone's going to be very anxious to see certainly those exhibits that are on view here as well. I know that we have a few guests with us. We'll be introducing some others. We have Colonel Bruce Bussler with us from the 436th Airlift Wing, Dover Air Force Base. We're certainly glad to have you with us. And we have others who are going to participate. And I will say, I think everyone that's here today is mighty special, by the way. You know, it was in 1883 that President Theodore Roosevelt said, "Nothing worth gaining is ever gained without effort." I think today's an example of that. But those words certainly rang very true when it was acclaiming once more our Bill of Rights here in Delaware. Just to give you a little insight as to my own personal involvement, and I was honored to be asked to be a part of this project. Can you believe that a delegation went over to talk with those in the National Archives, and I was happy to be a part of that, and took a proposal from Governor Ruth Ann Minner urging us to have our Bill of Rights back. And it was a very nice day. It was a day that was congenial on both sides. We felt very great about the people in the National Archives, and I think they did us. I do want to share with you, though, what day that actually was. That was the day before 9/11. So it certainly did make all of us think a great deal after that. And we were not deterred, although we did take a few other roads before we got our ideas back and our minds back to claiming our Bill of Rights. But we did that, and I'm just happy to say that I don't think there's any more excited person than our governor, the fact that we now are going to have our Bill of Rights right here. So would you join with me in welcoming our governor, Ruth Ann Minner.
Tell you, when I got up this morning and looked outside, I worried a little whether we would all be able to make it or not. I'm sure it did deter some folks, but we sincerely appreciate your effort to join us here today. It is such an important day. Someone from the press asked me why I thought this was so important, and I told them You know, we've waited for so long. It is just so important that it's here. And I wish there were a way we could have every one of our school children able to come and bring their parents along to view this, because it will make a difference for them as well. But it's indeed a great honor to be a part of history. And today is a part of history for our state and for the citizens of the state. For the first time in more than 200 years, Delaware can again lay claim to the important icon in our history, the Bill of Rights. Little did a legislative clerk way back in 1790 think that his decision to write the ratification of the Bill of Rights on the bottom of the document and return it to the federal government would cause such a groundswell in the 21st century. But it did. When we began to work on return to the Bill of Rights in Delaware, I was excited because I think that anything we can do to promote history, the history of our country, but the history of our state as well, is so important. And this certainly does it. It's important for Delawareans, it's important for Americans, not only to preserve this history, but to make it accessible for everyone so that they can see it, and especially to our children. We worked with the National Archives to address the complex preservation issues that go with exhibiting one of the rarest and, of course, the most important pieces of parchment in the history of our country. And then in the middle of all those negotiations, as Harriet said, 9/11, and National Archives sort of shut the doors. And we really were disappointed, but in all that happened after 9/11, I don't think there was any question we understood why they did that and continued to work with them into the future. And yes, the sense of patriotism that emerged from 9/11 was a wonderful thing to behold, part of our history that I think will more closely knit our country for a long time. How proud we are to be Americans, how proud we are to be Delawareans and have our Bill of Rights come back. Well, it is an important sign of what our country stands for. It's an important sign of what we stand for. And I would be remiss if I did not recognize the efforts of all of those involved with bringing the Bill of Rights to Delaware. Senator Biden, Senator Carper, Congressman Castle, and their staffs in Washington worked tirelessly and undeterred in their effort to assist the state and make sure that we had the Bill of Rights on display here. And I'd say a very special thank you. And please be sure to say to your staff that we appreciate all of their work on our behalf as well. And yes, there was our legislative leaders, Senator Thurman Adams, who cannot be with us today, and Representative Wayne Smith. And Wayne, we all need to say thank you because you were another one of those stalwart voices that said, we will get this done, we just have to be patient, but it will be here. They showed that our efforts in Washington reflect every part of our state because they were from every part of our state. And to each one who had a hand, we say thank you. And then, of course, we have to look at those in our own state government through the Division of Archives, the Department of State. Needless to say, I could almost see the glee in some eyes when we finally got the message that it was really coming. And then I sort of started hearing the cheers saying, we got it, we got it, we got it. And I can imagine that probably back when that Bill of Rights was first done, somebody did that very same thing because they were just as excited that they achieved that as we are to have it back in Delaware. And so we stand here today ready to cut the ribbon on our new Hall of Records, a place where we can really touch history. Wayne and I talked earlier about reading and the kind of books we like, and we both have a passion for history and love historical novels as well as the real facts. And quite often you have to make sure that you recognize which you're reading to make sure you don't get some of those facts a little off. But today, here, we are making history. Thank you for being a part of that. It is amazing that we have finally accomplished this and to all of those involved. I hope you feel as good about this project as I do. Thank you very much.
As the governor said, we certainly had a moment of joy when we heard we were going to receive the Bill of Rights. So can you imagine what happened the day it came? I received a phone call and I heard all these noises in the background. It's here, it's here. And they were having a joyous time over here, certainly in this building. As the governor also mentioned, our congressional delegation worked tirelessly, and certainly their staff members are being congratulated for that. Senator Biden cannot be here today, but I believe he did read a tribute on the floor, and that was a wonderful thing to do over in Washington. Today we do have with us Senator Carper and Representative Castle, so we'd like to hear from both of them at this moment. Senator Carper.
I'm really just Mike Castle's driver. But a pretty good one, what'd you say?
Very good. Very impressed.
Well, Brian Bushveld told us that when I talked to him earlier this morning, he said, well, the state police say the roads are lousy upstate, but as you come further south, they get better. Wrong. Governor, it's great to be with you, Harriet, our Secretary of State, to Wayne, we worked for many years in the legislature, to your family, to all of our Delawareans who are here today. This exciting day, happy day. And the governor was good enough to give credit to our congressional delegation for having worked on this and worked hard. We work uncommonly well as a delegation between Senator Biden, Congressman Castle, and myself. We like each other, we work well together, our staffs work well together. It's a very good thing for Delaware. Sometimes Joe takes the lead on something, occasionally I'll take the lead on something, and oftentimes Michael will take the lead on something. And he has provided the leadership in this delegation. Went over to the National Archives, and he'll tell you a story about it, not once but several times. The guy who's in the National Archives is an old buddy of his, former governor of Kansas. And Mike was good enough to get us involved, but he really provided the leadership, and I think he deserves a special thank. And I would say we have a number of governors who were involved in getting this place built. Certainly the legislature was involved in getting this place built. But we had former Governor Carper, who used to say, we ought to have a new state archive. We should have something that we can be proud of. It's really a state-of-the-art, as good as anything in the country. And had former Governor Peterson, former Governor Tribbett, and former Secretary of State Bill Quillen, and our Harriet's immediate predecessor, Ed Friel, who was our Secretary of State for much of my time as governor. And finally, to get them off of my back, we agreed to build this place. And it is magnificent. And anybody who's been here from out of state will tell you, this is as good an archive for the Hall of Records as there is in the country. And another one of the reasons why this Bill of Rights is here today, I'm convinced, is because we had a place to bring it. Build, and they will come. Build the Hall of Records, and they will come. And if it weren't for this kind of facility, despite the efforts of our delegation, all the efforts of the governor and Secretary of State and Tim Slavin and others, we wouldn't be here celebrating this day. Last thing I want to just mention, the Bill of Rights. And I said to my wife Martha, she says, where are you going? And I said, well, I'm going to Dover, and Mike Castle and I are going to go down, and we're going to have the unveiling of the Bill of Rights, the Delaware original Bill of Rights, and we're getting it back. And she said, why are you going all the way to Dover in a snowstorm for that? And I said, well, you don't need for me to give you a history lesson, Martha, but we happen to live in the longest living democracy in the history of the world. The first state that ratified the Constitution on which that democracy is built is Delaware. 300 yards from where we stand, Delawareans ratified the Constitution. The first 10 amendments to the Constitution are the Bill of Rights, whose return we welcome today. These young people are free to play as they see fit, not because of the Constitution, but the freedoms that we enjoy to speak our piece, to say what's on our mind, to elect our leaders, to throw the ones out that we don't like, to keep the ones that are doing the job, to go over here to Legislative Hall and to petition and bring our grievances there, to worship God as we see fit, We end up in trouble with the law to have a right to a trial of a jury by our peers, the right to have legal counsel if we're the defendant, and the knowledge that when we go to bed at night, tonight, any other night, when we go to bed and we go to sleep, that nobody will knock on our door in the middle of the night and hold us accountable for anything that we've said or done, because we live in a free country. And we live in a free country because of that Constitution on which our country is established. And we have a free country today because of the Bill of Rights, whose return we celebrate this day. This is a great day.
Thank you again, Senator Carper, for your leadership. And now you've heard somewhat about Representative Castle's leadership. Let's hear from him. Representative Castle.
Well, thank you, Harriet. I'm very pleased. I am pleased to be here. Typically you say that, but if you've been out on that snowy night with a wonderful driver, I might add, and a wonderful vehicle, very high-priced, wonderful driver and a wonderful vehicle, and got here safely, you'd be happy to say that as well. And, I'm supposed to go to the Delaware football game yet, so I thought maybe I'd talk for an hour and a half or so, and maybe the game will be mostly over. Governor, thank you for all your help with this and your interest in it. It's made a tremendous difference, frankly, in getting it done. It's huge, and we are very, very appreciative of that. I'd like to, we all know the importance of this, although I did think when Tom mentioned that, we can't be awakened in the middle of the night by a knock on the door or being held accountable for what we said or done. It seems to me the News Journal papers called me up at 11 a.m. what I said or done. So I'm not too sure about this whole freedom of the press. So much of the Bill of Rights has really worked the way it should work. That's for a different day, perhaps, so we'll take that up. But here, as we approach Delaware Day and the celebration of that, I think it's wonderful that when we look back to 213 years ago at what we did, perhaps the mistake we made in sending back the Bill of Rights to begin with, so that we had to go after it here in the year 2003, or actually a couple years earlier in getting it. But I hate to tell you how naive I am, particularly for the archivists who are here, for Dan and Tim and the others who are here. But Wayne Smith has always been a history buff, as we all know. He's Delaware's favorite historian. And has taken just a tremendous interest in all of this, and really without his moving this, I don't think anything would have started. And Wayne, we give you tremendous credit for that, as the governor has. We said this was happening. It was going through the House and the Senate. They were passing a resolution about getting back the Bill of Rights. And I don't know a lot about being an archivist and the documents or whatever, so I told my staff, I said, let's get involved with this. It sounds like a good idea. Delaware doesn't have its Bill of Rights, we should do something about it. And lo and behold, we did find out that John Carlin, with whom I'd served, he was a Democratic governor and I was a Republican governor. He was from Kansas, I was from Delaware, but he was a friend. And he was the archivist. So I figured I'd call him up and just get the doggone thing and go pick it up and bring it over to Delaware. It didn't bother me much, And I literally picked up the phone. Hey, John, I said, John, it's Mike. I hadn't talked to him in a while. We talked for a while. I said, yeah, we'd like to get this Bill of Rights back to Delaware, We got this resolution, and the state really wants it back, and we have this beautiful new building. And I give Senator Carper at the time, and Governor Minner great credit for not only the building of this, but the use of it. I think it's a wonderful facility, Harriet, that you all have here, and I just think it's great. And we had a good spot for it, and I knew that, and I figured, well, this is my lucky day, I'll get it done. And he said, well, Mike, it's perhaps a little more involved. Maybe you ought to come out and visit with us. So I went out there, and they took me around, and and I don't know if you've ever been to the Archives building. It's not the one in Washington, but the one out in College Park from the University of Maryland campus. It's a big, beautiful building. And at that point, they happened to be working on all of our important documents, including the original Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. And they took me into the room where they were doing this. And they started showing me the cases and the kind of glass and the permeating gases or whatever they are that to protect these documents. And all of a sudden I realized I wasn't going to leave that day with my document. The second blow had come, they were sort of setting me up for failure here. So and this is all just before the meeting that Harriet spoke about, and we sat down and we talked about it for a while, and he had all these people probably with PhDs who knew a lot about preservation of documents, and I started to realize this was a lot more complicated than I had ever understood it to be. And I got the direct impression we were never going to get the Bill of Rights. There's just absolutely no chance that Delaware's version would ever come back. And of course, I made all the arguments I've been provided with by all of you in terms of Delaware should be able to get its back and that kind of thing, but it simply did not work out. And then we did get a phone call finally after, and we went back and forth hard on this. And finally we got a phone call on it, and they made an offer to us in September that we would be able to get it for 1 week every 5 years. I thought to myself, I don't think this is quite what we were looking for. It's a little bit of a problem, but I was at least happy that they were willing to negotiate with us at all. And that was after looking at what we had here and everything else. And so we went back and forth with respect to that. And it's true that all this happened right around 9/11, which was obviously sort of underlined the importance perhaps of the Bill of Rights and what it means to each and every one of us. And then of course we went on to have other meetings, including the one that Harriet referred to, in which our good state people came down. That made a big difference in terms of what was going on. And I remember when they presented the whole thing to us, again, we still haven't gone very far, and I knew the time had come for bigger artillery than I had. And that's when we called up Tom and Joe and said, hey, we need you guys involved in this thing. And that's when things really started to move. And so while Tom's giving me credit, I give them a lot of credit too, because their staffs, and they got very involved with the subject, and along with Tim Slavin and Harriet and the governor and others, and of course Wayne always behind it, we eventually worked out the agreement that we have now, which is actually going to give this to us for a period of time and a few other documents as well. And of course we had an historic signing ceremony in Washington, D.C. In July of 2002. My notes tell me here. And now we celebrate this Delaware Day, and now for the next 6 months or so, we're going to be able to have it on review. And the sly negotiators that we are also able to manage to secure the famous American Originals exhibit for 90 days in Delaware sometime in 2004. So all this is considered, frankly, to be a great victory, and the American documents which are going to come are going to be a great victory also. It would never have happened if we did not have this building. It would never have happened if we didn't have people who care about the history of Delaware, who are much more knowledgeable, obviously, with expertise than people like me. It would not have happened if we did not have the usual perseverance of Delawareans. That is, they had something that we wanted back. And we had a leader in Wayne who was going to make a difference in that, a governor who was bound and determined to get it back, and 3 members of Congress who said, we're going to go about doing it. We may not know what we're doing, but we know how to do it, and that is to keep asking until you get it done. And we were able to get it done, and for that, I think we're all extraordinarily appreciative. I'd just like to thank everybody who touched on this. It was fun for me, although it was a little exasperating when I kept getting turned down, but in the long run, something very wonderful has happened. So I didn't give a doggone if it was snowing or ice or what it was. I was going to be here today for this, one way or another, just to offer my congratulations.
Thank you, Representative Castle. Certainly on the state level, we certainly have a great deal of support as well. And certainly Senator Adams was very instrumental in that resolution. And we have with us today the other gentleman who was very forceful as well. And I know you'd like to hear a bit from Representative Wayne Smith.
Well, thank you. This is just a terrific day for everyone. But I must share with you that over the last couple of days I did have the thoughts as a good conservative, and no criticism, Senator and Congressman, of you, but this is probably the first time since the 1930s that any state got some rights back from Washington. So it's the irony, I think, there's a good column here for George Will or somebody. But this is a great day. Let me tell you a little bit about how this started, because I have been not shy at all about using my office and position to try and promote Delaware history, to try and make sure that it gets the emphasis I think it deserves, and also that it's around and explainable to the young people who are going to have to understand how our democracy works, how our state has been unique and just a wonderful place in order to perpetuate the freedoms and the very rights enshrined in this document, just the good things about self-government that we hope is carried forward forever. But I think it was probably after we either done the historic marker book or perhaps done the program where we gave all the schools a copy of the ratification document. But I called Tim up one fall before starting legislative session, Tim Slade, and I said, Tim, you know, we've done a lot, kind of went through the list. I said, what else is big and good that's out there we can try and do to promote history? He said, well, you know, Wayne, the Bill of Rights that was sent to us is down in Washington. And it wouldn't be a bad thing to try and see if we can take a run at getting that back. And so that was the genesis of it. And it started from there. It was a tremendous team effort. I don't think I've seen state government and our federal delegation as unified and as focused on something perhaps as this. But I've got to give a lot of credit. The legislature started this, but certainly Senator and Congressman, I know Senator Biden personally, you folks were all involved and invested in that. Your staff deserves a lot of credit, but it really touched me, and I know the governor and every lover of history in the state that you individually got involved and took the time to go out there and talk to the federal archivist, the national archivist, and really make sure this thing happened. Governor, I can't give enough credit to you. You know, the efforts you gave, making sure the resources were there, making this one of your priorities to get this back, and directing your folks. And Harriet, you just run a wonderful department with tremendous public servants that they really have a love for what's special and beautiful about this state, and work their utmost to present it. And I can't say enough about Tim Slavin. I mean, there were a lot of folks who were, you know, there at the press conferences and starting resolutions and calling the White House and visiting, and it was all important stuff. But at some level, you know, the federal archives, the national archivist tend to turn to his technical people and say, you know, make sure these folks in Delaware know what they're doing. I thought at one point that they thought it would come down here and, you know, they were worried that when they came to visit it would have Coke stains on it or something from sodas that had been laid. We really had to build confidence, and we had a plan. We were willing to make the investment. Again, Governor, your administration was willing to put the dollars behind this was incredibly helpful and significant. I can't thank you enough. But Tim was a guy who really did the research, talked to the contractors, put together the technical aspects that convinced Washington that this precious piece, not only of Delaware history, but of American history, would be safe here, would not only serve to inspire us today, but would also be kept in the kind of condition that it could continue to inspire Delawareans and Americans forever. So there's a great number of folks who deserve credit, and it's tremendous on a snowy day to see this many enthusiasts for Delaware history to be out here celebrating what I think is just a great win for the state of Delaware and our ability to transmit what is special about us and self-government to future generations. And I thank you.
Again, thank all of you, and I do believe that we need to certainly recognize Tim Slavin, our archivist here, and certainly Russ McCabe. We've got a lot of good publicity on this, Russ, thank you. And the staff that's here this morning. Would you just raise your hands to be recognized? Because after the ribbon cutting and you see the Bill of Rights, you're also going to see really the state-of-the-art building. And certainly our exhibits, I believe, you'll believe with me, would be a model among states. You're just going to be very impressed, and you're going to see how secure this building really is. So at this time, I would like us to do the official ribbon cutting. We're going to ask that Representative Smith, if you would get on one end, I'll hold the other end of the ribbon, and we'll have Governor Minner in the center, and then you two gentlemen each side of the governor. Thank you.
We're going to say as we cut this ribbon, it is with a great deal of pleasure that we open this display and this archive for all of the citizens of Delaware. It is our wish that they all take advantage to come and see that. With that, Tom, I'll let you do the countdown.
Just let me get up there. You guys got it. What did you do? All right, tell me you see this countdown. Starting with 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right in front of me, and I can stop my speech. And the lady said to me, she said, he just needs to use the restroom.
No, that was when I came in this morning, it's first thing I said.
Light was a big issue. Because light was
It's 2.5 foot candles.
right, and that's what it has to be, right? And this is it.
And that's how we can keep it to the Fourth of July.
Right, keeps it, I remember that was a big deal.
Yeah, just can't have too bright a light.
Right. Still see particularly well with a bright light.
I don't see with love, it's not so bright.
I'll take your word what we're looking at here.
Let these folks stay first. Swing the last people.
Yeah.
The whole light thing is
Come on, Wayne, get a look.
Okay.
You worked hard to get this
That was a
here.
great group effort. Wonderful, isn't it? See, kids, that's John Adams' signature. Second president,
Oh,
vice
you going
president.
back again?
See
Okay.
that, John Adams? Vice president of the United States.
Maybe if we go this way, Harriet, we'll be out of other space.
all the document.
No, my name's not on it. Signs are just- but he just stays on for a minute. Yep. Yep, just- Yes, she is. She's open.
When it went into quad mode. Our old friends.
It's there. I hope so.
This morning he said, open it, I want to be sure it's there. So I'm gonna open it.
Yeah,
Can he
yeah.
do it?
You don't have
Joey, we're just gonna leave it open.
You don't have a light there.
The whole thing is, it's on now, so it's just,
Okay,
I
well,
want to see without any,
The archives
any,
right now, so I have to work on some hours up here because the guy was supposed to be
I
here.
don't know if I'm really for
The
this.
weather either, so I'm in Dover at the archives.
This is as much light as we can have, right?
So you'll just have to say
Face
to
of
me
the documents
because of
will be
weather,
this.
there's nothing else I can do, because it is terrible, so.
We get reflection.
you can get close, just don't touch.
Tim said he's gonna leave the vault in the back door, so
Okay.
she won't.
That's it.
Whatever he wants to do.
Can't add light to it.
But somebody's still got to hit the light switch.
Right. You can do that.
Okay.
It's all reflection. Because of the glass.
Well, I tell you what,
That's what I would suggest.
take the lights off.
Well, if anything.
That's better, yes it is. Absolutely, that's a lot better.